and be calm and do nothing proactively. That is the very simple idea of the United States and European nations. But on the other hand, what we did was sending troops to the China and sending the troops to the try to negotiate with India, Indonesia, and also there was the let me say clear tendencies about expanding Japanese territories outside of the Japan in all directions. That was a huge threat for the the United States and European side, because they already have a huge the right to get everything. So that they had a huge threat about their right on the occupied areas. So that anyway, they have to stop the Japan. So and as a result of that, the very first moment they decide to force Japan to do nothing by giving a huge pressure on the diplomatic way. That was the stopping the oil to Japan. And the one of the famous the requirement from the United States was the HAL note. There are so many requirements to the Japanese government, and that HAL note, the bunch of the list of the requirements was created by, of course, the United States government. But there are so many requirements which Japanese government could not accept. If we Japanese government accept them, then that means we surrender, and not only the surrendering, but we we admit them. We accept them governing, or maybe the invasions. So that's why we Japanese government could not accept the HAL note, the list of the requirements. So, but that was very the last moment when we decided to start the war, because our oil preserve was less than maybe at that moment maybe our oil preserve was just for 1 year and a half. So that during this 1 year and a half, we have to decide what we have to do. But there is no way for the negotiation, because their intention was already decided. Their intention, the United States and the European countries' intention is to stop the Japanese doing anymore, so that there is no the room for the negotiation. So that the Takahashi-san said one of the big reasons was the lack of the communication. I think it is also possible to say communication means negotiation. But from my viewpoint, there's no room for the negotiation at that moment. So eventually, there's only one way to solve that is the start of the war against the United States and the British. That is the reason why
before releasing HAL note, 5 years, 10 years, Japanese could communicate with American and British people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can they? I think so too.
Huh?
So I think so too. Some earlier negotiations should have been done 5 years earlier or a few years earlier until the situation get worse, so that we couldn't have any options to take.
Means they couldn't make good communication with those people, right?
They couldn't have the good communication enough to avoid the situation where we couldn't have any alternatives to.
Why sort of things happen?
Sorry?
Why sort of things happen? Communicate with overseas people. Why? Why Japanese could not? Because before World War II, many Japanese people can speak English, right? Why not communicate with overseas people, politicians? Why they could not?
Yeah.
Why?
That's a question. If not exactly the same, but similar case happens in this situation at this moment, at this era, then if we would say we couldn't have any other options to take, then maybe consider, well, Japanese are going to do the similar, not the gunfire, but to make some fight.
What?
That's a question, but I don't know why we couldn't do better communication.
This is a key. I think now is 100 years later. Now is a very similar situation. Japanese government can communicate with American people or politicians and British people. Now, well, you're saying Vietnam. Our Vietnamese government, Japanese government can communicate well with them. What is the issue? What is the problem? Oh, I want to figure out more fundamental, deep reason. Okay, this is without solving this reason. We will do it again, right? Sonoda will answer.
Yeah, I have a one opinion about that. Yes, and that is also the we can say the core part of my lecture. So after just before the Meiji Restoration, at the end of the Edo era, so we enjoyed our peaceful life inside our the land without feeling a threat from outside. But there was a moment when European nations tried to occupy the other Asian nations from south to north. So eventually, at the end of the Edo era, that was 1860 or 70 or whatever, or 80 or 1860, 52, and or maybe so. From north, the Russia came, and from south, there are so many the European nations. But one of the big event was the Admiral Perry's visit in front of the Edo Bay. That was the turning point of the diplomatic idea of the Japanese government. So and also at the same time, such kind of a threat from outside was huge. To the not only for the Japanese government, also for the ordinary people. So that was the moment the Japanese people try to think about what we should do for the future. So they every Japanese people of every the class started to think about and try to learn anything. And at that moment, I think that was the moment when we had so many noble people we have. And also, yeah, of course, their ability to use English was not good, but their mindset was very strong, and everybody think about our nation's future. So they tried to negotiate with them with a very strong mindset. But after that, we started to move to the modernized nations in all aspects after the Meiji Restoration. we drastically or rapidly imported any sort of modernized the knowledges governing system, education, industry, whatever. So eventually, several tens years later, we could build our very, like I say, very fundamental core part of the nations, the modernized countries. And then after we had the Japan lost Sino War and the Japan lost the war, 1895 and 94 and 1904. So we could have some kind of confidence the power of the nations at that moment, because we could won to the two big war against the two big nations. But also, that was also, I may be able to say, it was the moment when we started to misunderstand the situation of the world. Maybe one of the simple idea is, if we have enough economic power and if we have enough military power, then we can do anything.